Okay, so today we're going to make menudo. It's a dish I happen to like. I'm sure some of you guys are going, ooh, I don't eat that. Well, hey, I understand. If you don't eat it, don't like it, you don't have to make nasty comments. However, it's a very popular dish in certain parts of the country and Mexico, and it's definitely popular on Saturday and Sunday, especially Sunday. As they say, cerveza hoy, menudo mañana. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna toast some chili peppers. I have 3 ancho chili peppers. Now these have all been the stems removed and the seeds taken out. I've got 6 guajillos. Now I'm just gonna lightly toast these. These are already somewhat pliable. They're nice and fresh. I really like working with the good quality chili. And one of the things I look for is I try to go find a Mexican market, because they typically have the fresher chilies. They have a nice high turnover rate, so you can get good fresh chilies at the Mexican markets. Now one thing you want to do when you're turning them over and stuff, you're going to see that they're going to try to pop up sometimes. Just kind of mash them down. Like I said, we're not going to put a whole lot of color on these, because when you burn them they get bitter, so you want to keep an eye on them. Just kind of change the color, make them pliable a little bit, and then we're going to throw them in some water and let them soak. I'm just using warm water. You could use hot water. That helps them get softened up faster. But these, like I said, these are looking pretty good. All right, this has only been a couple minutes, but my guajillos, they're done. So we're gonna take and pull them out. Like I said, I don't want to burn them. We're gonna throw them in our water. Our ancho chilies, they're looking pretty good. They're almost done. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this burner off. We have enough residual heat to finish this up. I'll be back. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got some beef bones. Now these are from a leg. They look pretty good. They're nice. They're not too bad. Now they've probably got some bone fragments from being cut from a bandsaw and all. That's okay. We're just going to blanch these things. I've got about 2 pounds of these. It's just over 2 pounds. We're just going to put these in the pot. Now, I've got 1 cow's foot. Yeah, this is it gives you really good collagen. It's really good in the soup. I mean, this is you have to do this. If you're going to make good menudo, you got to have this. Now, you buy these at the Mexican market. This has already been split in half and then cut into pieces. And so we're going to throw this in the pot too. And then we're going to cover the pot with water, and we're going to bring it to a boil, and we're going to blanch these for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll dump out the water. Okay, I did forget to put something in my pot, which is not a big deal because we're just now getting up to temperature. I've got some beef shanks here. I've got 2 pieces of this. I want to blanch these as well. That'll help pull some of the nasties out of everything. Anyway, looks like I put some more water in there. Okay, so it took a while because I've used frozen bones, but my pot is up to boiling, and it's been boiling for just a little bit. And as you can see, there's a really nasty scum layer. So what we're going to do now is I've got the burner off. We're going to take and we're going to dump this out. We're going to wash the bones, and we're going to wash the pot, and we're going to bring it back. We're going to put the bones back in the pot, and we're going to cover it with water, and we're going to start bringing them up to temperature again. I'm not going to show you me washing the bones. It's kind of it's not really fun to watch. Okay, so our pot's clean, our bones are clean. Now on those cow feet, I went ahead and trimmed them because they were kind of in long pieces. They weren't quite cut all the way through. I went ahead and cut them all the way through. That way they fit in the pot a little better. And as you can see, everything's a lot lower and level in the pot. Now I've got the shanks on top because I'm going to pull them out in about half an hour. In about half an hour, I'll pull them out and pull the meat off the bones and throw the bones back in there. Now here I have half a tablespoon of salt and 1 teaspoon or half a teaspoon of black pepper. I've got half of an onion. I've got 3 cloves of garlic I'm gonna throw in there. Those are big, massive cloves. If you don't have them that big, you may want to use 4 or 5 smaller ones. I've got a couple bay leaves. It's just a background note. And then I have I have a teaspoon of Mexican oregano. It's going to go in there. We're We're going to cover this with water. I happen to have some warm water because I was warming this up on another burner. We're going to put this in there and we're going to let it go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to blend up our chilies. Now these have been soaking for a little while. I think these went for about 45 minutes or so. And I just go by once in a while, kind of turn them around, mash them down, just make sure they stay in the water. I like to blend these with clean water. Some people use the soaking water. I tend to think that maybe it has dirt or something in it. I don't know, maybe I'm just paranoid. But I also think that it imparts a little bit of a bitter flavor. Anyway, I'll get these in here and we'll blend them up here in just a second. Now you can certainly do this in a blender, but all I have is this stick blender, so that's what I'm going to use. I've got about half a cup of water or so. Exactly how much doesn't really matter. You want enough to cover it and plenty that there's lots of liquid there so that it'll blend up really good. If you try doing this without enough water, they really don't blend up very well. I'm gonna hit this with a whole bunch of coarse salt. I'm using kosher salt, but that's not really important as long as it's coarse. You can use sea salt, anything like that. And we're really gonna try to scrub this stuff a little bit, and we're gonna make sure it's nice and clean because we don't want corn in our menudo. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is after I get done scrubbing these, I'm going to take and I'm going to put them into some cold water and we're going to let them soak for a little while until we're ready to cut them up. Now I may change that water a time or two just to make sure I get all the salt out of these things because I don't want to salt them. Anyway, I'm going to continue on and I'll be back when I get ready to cut them up. Okay, so this has been going for about half an hour. So we're getting ready to pull our shanks out. What we're going to do here, we're going to skim off a little bit of this fat and nasty stuff that's floating up. Now notice we didn't get a whole bunch of fat and scum. That's because we went ahead, because we blanched our bones and everything ahead of time. So anyway, that helped. And I think that blanching it gives you a really nice soup. I'm not worried about getting all the fat out right now. Just wanted to kind of keep ahead of it. All right, let's go ahead and pull our shanks out. And I'm going to throw them in some water, let them cool down so that I can get the meat off of them. Also, by throwing them in some cool water, it helps to keep the meat from turning as gray. Okay, we got our beef here. As you can see, it's probably not the most tender piece of meat. I mean, shank is known for being kind of tough. What we're going to do, we're just going to dice this up. And we've got some gristle and stuff in there, but we're just going to keep cutting it. There, we'll take that, move that out of the way. Okay, so we've got our just plain tripe, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to dice this up. I like to do mine pretty small. Some places you go to, they have these huge hunks. I don't really like that. I like mine to be fairly small. Anyway, I'm just going to keep cutting that up. And we're going to do the same thing to our honeycomb tripe. I mean, it all just gets diced up. And like I said, size is really up to you. I prefer to go on kind of the smaller side. But, I mean, hey, if you want it to be big and hunky, go ahead. It's your soup. If you're cooking, you get to do what you want. Okay, so our bones have been boiling for about 3 hours. And what we're going to do now, we're going to take and we're going to skim off foam and any fat. There we go. Now I tasted this stock because I wanted to check it for salt, and I'm just a little bit low on my salt, which is fine. That's good. We can just add a little more. And because now right here in this pot, I've got my tripe. I've got the tripe and the honeycomb tripe. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in a little more salt. Now I'm using I'm adding another half a teaspoon. How much you add, really, I mean, that's up to you. I mean, salt preference is a personal thing. Now, remember our chilies that we ground up? We're going to strain these because I don't want any hunks of chili left. One thing you can do to kind of help this out, take some of this hot stock, pour that through. Let me get a metal spoon over here. That works better than that big plastic spoon. I'm just going to keep doing this until we get it all through. And then whatever's left in there, we'll throw that away. See these hunks like this? That's like skin of the chili, and that's really not very good. You don't want to eat that. So we'll just throw that away. But it's already flavored our soup pretty good, so we've got all the flavor out of it. We just don't want those nasty little pieces in our mouth. Okay, so we've got all of our chili sauce in here, and what we're going to do, we're going to take a bunch of this broth, we're going to fill this pot up, and then we're going to boil this tripe for about 2.5 hours. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these bones out, and I'm going to get any pieces of meat or tendon or anything like that. I'm going to get all that plucked off, and then we're going to put the bones back in the pot, and we're going to put some more water in there, and we'll make some basically stock. So anyway, I'll be back. Okay, our bones and stuff, they're cooling down a little bit. We got to be careful, but we can start handling them. Now you're going to find pieces like this. This is tendon and such. We're just going to kind of chop that up like that. Off this bone here, we got some more tendon. We're going to pull that off. Now all of this does go into the pot. You don't have to do this. This is a completely optional step, but it's a texture thing. And then the bones are going to go back in the pot. I still got a couple inches of stock in there. We're going to put the bones back in the pot, and we're going to save these other pieces of meat and stuff, and those will go back into the soup here in a little while. Okay, we have our bones cleaned up, and this is going pretty good, but it's about time for a good skimming. See a lot of fat coming up off of there. This tripe here was trimmed pretty good, but still, I mean, tripe is just fatty. I'm going to skim this fat off. We're going to have to do this another time or two. I've got these bones heating up over here so that as this stock pot goes down in level, I've got fresh stock to make it up with. There we go. That's good enough for now. We're going to get more here in a little bit. So now this is the stuff that I took off the bones. Put that in there nice and gently. Now remember that meat I took off the shanks? That's this. I'll put this in here. And we're just going to bring this back to a boil. Okay, so basically my tripe part is finished cooking, and since we're going to have this in the morning for our hangover cure, I'm going to go ahead and turn that burner off. I'm going to scoop this fat and stuff off one more time, and we'll probably wind up having to do it again in the morning. We're going to put our hominy in here, and then that way whenever we heat this back up in the morning, our hominy finished cooking. Hominy, it's already cooked, so it just needs to absorb some of the flavors from the soup. There we go. We're going to skim that again in the morning anyway. Give that a stir. Now, this is a good point to taste test it, because if it doesn't have enough salt, then you want to go ahead and put some in here now. Because basically in the morning all we're going to do is heat it up. And that's why I like to make it a day ahead. So I'm going to get this out of here without making a mess. Oh yeah, there we go. Not too bad. Break this up, stir it around. I could have used a bigger pot. Okay, so here it is the next morning. We got our menudo out. Now, if you notice, it's really thick. It's because of all that collagen in the stock. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn our oven on. We're not gonna turn it on a high yet because this is still thick and the steam wouldn't have any way to get out. We're gonna let it start to get hot and it'll turn back into a liquid. What I'm gonna do here, while it's real easy, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna skim this little bit of fat off the top here. Although we'll probably wind up skimming it again before we serve it. What I'm gonna do now, go ahead and get all my stuff ready, chop up my onions and cilantro and stuff. Anyway, I'll be back with you. So our menudo is basically up to temperature now. So I got some tortillas going. These are fresh. Picked them up yesterday. So I guess they wouldn't be quite fresh. Anyway, we're gonna skim this one more time. We're gonna put everything in a bowl and I'll be back and show you how we're gonna plate this up. Okay, so we have our menudo here. It's ready. Now, first thing I want to do, I want to squeeze some lime juice in here. Gotta have some lime juice with it. Now remember, these are all personal preferences. You do it how you want to do it. I'm not telling you you have to do any of this. I'm gonna take a little bit of this Mexican oregano. I'm gonna crush that up in there. There we go. Now, I'm gonna take some cilantro. I'm gonna put that on there. I'm gonna take some freshly diced jalapeno. Scatter that around. Some freshly diced onion. Put that in there. And now that is ready to eat. Okay, so how's our menudo taste? The best way to taste that, roll up a tortilla. Dip that in there. Man. I'd put that up against anybody's menudo. It's that good, seriously.